I'm John Batchelor. Gordon Chang of Forbes.com is here, and we're joined by our colleague Nitin Gokhale, who in India now, we're speaking to him in Delhi, is the Security and Strategic Affairs Editor for NDTV. That's Insider Talk for New Delhi Television. Nitin, when last we spoke to you, you were in the Ladakh region of northeast India, very near an incursion by Chinese military personnel, a provocation. They had crossed the line and were camping, and then they went farther into India. It was a momentary crisis, but now I see in Reuters the report that the Premier of China has visited the Prime Minister of India, Manmohan Singh, and all is kiss and make up. Is that correct? We're now pointing to the fact that it's an ill-defined border and therefore no harm done. Is that the correct story, or has India climbed down? Good morning to you, Nitin.
Morning, John. Yes, in a way, India has climbed down because all that the Chinese did was to come in about 19 kilometers there in northwest of India in Ladakh, where I was, as you said. And they decided to go back only after extracting a concession from India that even Indian troops will not visit that spot, which actually falls within Indian border. But having said that, I think India decided to momentarily climb down because the Prime Minister of China, the Chinese Premier Li, was supposed to visit India late this week, and therefore I think India decided to play it cool right now and then give him the exact feelings that India has about the border negotiations and also the undemarcated border that exists between the two countries. John?
Nitin, there are a number of areas of tension between New Delhi and Beijing, and the border is just one of them. The other is trade. Did Premier Li Ka-chang, when he was in New Delhi, did he make any serious concessions on either of these issues?
Well, as you mentioned, there are three areas which the tension exists between the two. One is, of course, border. The second is trade, as you just mentioned. And the third is the river waters, or the concern that India has about the dams that are being constructed by China on Sarlung Yangpo, which is Brahmaputra in India. But about trade, no concessions were made, although Premier Li told a business association in Mumbai that they will try, and the Chinese will try and reduce the deficit and allow a free access to Chinese markets in coming years. But the trade deficit is ballooning every year, and that remains a major concern.
Premier Li visiting in Delhi, and I believe, if I remember his itinerary correctly, he then went on to Pakistan. Is that correct?
Yes, he did. And
isn't that a problem, Nitin? Isn't that what you'd say is a demonstration of insensitivity to the conflicts?
Well, the Chinese have always done this, and I think India has learned to live with it. As you know, the Chinese and the Pakistanis keep saying that their friendship is higher than the Himalayas and deeper than the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
And that was again demonstrated yesterday when Premier Li signed an MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, to develop an airport at Gwadar Port in Balochistan, and also linkages to rail and road networks in Pakistan, so that China can access energy supplies through Pakistan and Central Asian republics into China. John?
Yeah, Nitin, it seems very interesting then that essentially we have Premier Li in Delhi. There really is a lot of nice words, but no real substantive movement. But when Li goes to Islamabad, they seem to be doing real deals there. I mean, this must be not lost on the Indian security establishment.
Oh, it's never lost on Indian security establishment. I think the Indian security establishment has been warning, has been cautioning the Indian political leadership that they need to watch out for these deals, and especially the Gwadar port being handed over to China, which was handed over about 3-4 months ago, and now this memorandum of understanding, which means that the Chinese are very serious in propping up Pakistan. They're also developing and upgrading the Karakoram highway, again for their own benefit, the Chinese benefit. And India is of course aware of this, but seems helpless in doing anything about it.
Nitin, a puzzle here, because we have news tonight, breaking news, that China's manufacturing manufacturing sector has contracted for the first time in 7 months. The new HSBC report, if I follow correctly, for May, showing contraction. That's what we call recession. That's what you in India call recession. Does that in any way influence decisions that are being made in Delhi? These are the two great powers of India, and one of them, China, is in trouble because of its, what you'd have to say, poor management of its economy these last years. Is India in a good position now with China contracting?
Well, India will certainly watch it, but even Indian manufacturing is just about looking up. Even Indian manufacturing sector had contracted. It's only last month that they've shown an upward trend. But surely the Indian service sector, especially the information technology service sector, is in a position to take advantage. But I fear that the contraction of the Chinese economy might result in assertive nationalism, assertive aggressive behavior on the border by the Chinese, and India seems to be the weakest of the big neighbors that China has, and that's going to be a major worry for India.
And Gordon, that's exactly your point. You think the nationalism is an expression of a weak economy.
Yeah, so you have an economic crisis causing a crisis of legitimacy in China. That is causing China to fall back on nationalism and increase friction with neighbors such as India.
And Delhi certainly sees this, Nitin. These are sharp observers. You have a free press. They understand that the Chinese are acting out because of their weak economy. Is that correct?
That's what most of us think, and most of us also think that instead of taking on Japan or Vietnam, Chinese leadership has identified India as the weakest neighbor at the moment, and therefore easy to push on contentious issues like the border.
My sense, Nitin, is that many people in Delhi have for many, many years viewed China as strong, and therefore you have a weak India policy with regard to the Chinese. Is there going to be a change in the way Indians view China as it becomes more apparent that the Chinese economy is having deep structural problems?
Well, I hope so, Gordon, but I don't see any visible signs of that as of now. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to an audience about this relationship, and my sense is that the civilian leadership and civilian bureaucracy in India is yet to come out of the shadow of the 1962 debacle that India faced with China, the border war that they fought in the high Himalaya, and that is going to take some doing to come out of that shadow.
Nitin, the tensions were very high during those weeks of incursion. Did that just blow away because Manmohan Singh walked and reminisced with Lee, who visited India as a young communist 27 years ago? All of a sudden, the television just got happy?
Well, that's the nature of news in India, that we go from episode to episode. But those with long memories do know that that was not just a one-off incident. It is likely to reoccur. And therefore, the Indian military needs to be on guard. And I think steps have been taken, but publicly that was treated as a very localized affair for reasons that I explained earlier. And therefore, we'll have to wait and watch where next China provokes India.
Nitin Gokhale, he's the Security and Strategic Affairs Editor, New Delhi Television, NDTV. China invaded India on purpose to provoke and intimidate, and it worked. Gordon Chang of Forbes.com. I'm John Batchelor.